My pleasure, Richard.
Ni hao
Alam mo
ma,
naman na
mukhang may Chinese painting tayo dyan sa likod ah. Very
oo
ano
nga,
ah.
dahil tayo mo kasi China pag-uusapan natin. So, ganda ko yung aking Chinese paintings.
Yeah. Flexing ano no, flexing your special guest status. Did you visit China nung panahon ni Pinoy when you were the Secretary of Political Affairs? Were you in any way or form part of engagements with China back in the day?
Yes and no.
I mean, what you can share. What you can-
Yes and no. Dahil it wasn't supposed to be a visit.
right, right.
So, I wasn't supposed to be there. No?
So ano ka, ano yun, gate
uh,
crasher.
kasama sa mga backdoor
Right, right.
na
I mean, of course, you don't have to
noon. No?
divulge confidential
Hindi lang naman
details.
si Trillanes ang nagbabackdoor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not to
Uh,
divulge any confidential
well,
information.
kahit
Right.
matagal na yan, hindi ko kasi alam if I'm revealing state secrets eh. Dahil nakalagay sa ating revised penal codes under espionage,
Yun nga
revealing
eh.
state secrets is punishable by law. So,
Ayoko madamay dyan,
hindi ko
accessory
alam
to
kung may
ano.
prescriptive period yan. When you were an officer of the
Ilang years
government,
na.
no? Kung marami akong ginawa nun eh. I even went to Vietnam to get their experience in dealing with China. So,
Right, right,
medyo mabibigat yung kausap natin noon, no?
right.
Hindi mga karaniwang tao. So, I have to ask my lawyer kung ano ba talaga diyan ang
Okay.
pwedeng sabihin when you were still a minister. No, pero interesting, no? Interesting yung mga meetings na yun dahil ang kausap mo ay talagang mga members ng Communist Party of China, kausap mo sa Vietnam, mga high-ranking officials, no? Trying to learn how they deal with China because alam mo naman, Vietnam and
Right.
China have been at war for more than 1,000 years. So, baka may matutunan tayo sa kanila, no? At partly, yung nakuha ko doon sa trip na yon ay nireport ko sa big boss, sa presidente. No? Halimbawa, nalaman ko sa Vietnam na meron pala silang code of conduct with China. No, yung hinahabol natin na code of conduct sa ASEAN. Meron pala China at saka Vietnam.
Is this the Gulf of
Na code of
Tonkin you're
conduct.
referring to? The Gulf of Tonkin where they have supposedly
Hindi,
research
sa
sharing?
South China Sea,
Sa
yung
South China
contested
Sea.
areas. Sa Spratlys, Paracels, no? Etc. So, hindi natin alam yun, no? At that time. So, tapos, sila yung nagsabi sa akin, yung kausap ko na high ranking na wag nating isuko yung bilateral track. Wag lang tayo mag-multilateral.
Right.
Especially during the worst of times. Sabi kasi nila, sila nga nag-gera with China di
They
ba?
still talk. Yeah.
Dalawang gera yung in recent history, di ba? Nag-gera sila with China twice.
1979
Tapos
sa
hindi pa
border.
dyan kasama yung sa South China Sea, yung namatayan sila ng more than 80
Johnson South Reef.
80 soldiers, 80 Navy, no? So, sabi nila, mas kailangan yan kung merong away, kung merong confrontation, yung bilateral, no? Nung sa atin kasi noon, parang at least nung Pinoy government, gusto multilateral So, ang sabi ng mga Vietnamese, huwag nyo rin pabayaan yung bilateral. Dahil, sa bagay, iba naman yung Vietnam tsaka China. Pareha silang may Communist Party, yung ruling party. So, meron silang patuloy na exchanges, party to party, military to military. Even during the worst of times.
Yeah.
So, mga example siya ng mga backdoor na hindi ko alam kung hanggang saan pwedeng ikwento.
Well, I mean, again, I think we have an inherent instinct of the confidential details. But what we are interested in discussing here is just the general outline, no, of engagements with China, but also with Vietnam. I mean, I've had my own engagements with both sides at certain levels throughout the years. These countries, they reach out. They want to get to know from the best in the business, right? Whether from Philippines, from abroad, etc. No, but balikan natin itong issue na ito kasi there are two things I want to discuss with you today. One is the situation sa BRP, Sierra Madre. And the other one is, of course, related dyan in a way, which is the issue of confidential funds. No, so So you keep on hearing na one reason na ganyan kamalala, no? Ganyan kalala yung situation natin on the ground para tayong squatter sa sarili natin bakuran. Parating sinasabi na walang funds, no? Hindi yan priority. Nakausap ko rin dati si Ramos, President Ramos about this. He gave me just some generic excuse about, he was not in a position to do that. But I kind of understand in the early years of Ramos when we're trying to recover from all the coup d'etat and problems and all. But hindi ko maintindihan why since 1999 no one didn't bother to even pinturahan sana, no? Yung rusty Sierra Madre speech na tetano scare, di ba? I mean, like, the place looks really apocalyptic, no? May pagka Mad Max yung dating. So, how are we gonna be respected by, forget about China, but even some of the other rival claimant states kung parang literally squatter tayo dyan sa sarili natin bakuran because, the Second Thomas Shoal is not a island or rock. It's just a low tide elevation. So this is more or less within our continental shelf, right? So I just want to understand what's going on here because a lot of blame games have been passed. I think I was misunderstood for posting those rusty pictures as if I'm just blaming Marcos. That would be unfair. This has been there since 1999. First of all, it's interesting that panon ni Era pa at least my effort to ground that World War II ship to do that, right? But your understanding is what? From Erap to Arroyo to Aquino, what was going on here? Bakit parang hindi binibigyan ng kahalagaan itong area na to? Kasi nakausap ko yung mga Marines, Philippine Marines. I've given lectures in different branches of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. At nung nakausap ko yung Marines, sabi na, Sir, kami actually yung nandun talaga on the ground, literally. No? And in this case, a rusty, horrible, precarious looking ground. And yeah, I just want to understand what's going on here because I think it would be unfair to blame Marcos Jr. for this. But I also don't buy this argument na wala tayong pera. I mean, Vietnam, napakahirap na bansa until recently. They were able to build all of those facilities in the area. When China and Taiwan started, they were also not wealthy countries. So what was going on? The reason I want to ask you about your experience during the Aquino administration, you don't have to talk about your own confidential experience, but in general, prosecute the case whichever you want. I mean, Aquino was known as being matapang sa China, etc. But I asked no less than the late Secretary Albert de Rosario once. This is I think 2014. I said, okay, I get the legal strategy, I get the diplomacy, but we have to do something on the ground. And in fact, the international law is clear. Kung you don't change the nature of the disputed features, you don't make a rock into an island, you don't unilaterally change that, then it's not a violation of international law. What I don't understand is bakit walang effort to maintain the area, pinturan man lang itong BRP Sierra Madre nung panahon ni Pinoy when we're spending millions of dollars for arbitration award and all. I mean, again, I'm not putting you on the spot to defend Aquino. I just want to get an understanding of why this lopsidedness. I wrote a piece for CSIS in DC back in 2015, no? Bata pa ako nun, saying there's something lopsided
from my vantage point, tingin ko successive governments from ERAP to Arroyo to Pinoy, no, to Duterte hanggang sa kasalukuyan, ay hindi malinaw ano bang gagawin diyan sa barko na yan. Ano bang ibig sabihin nung BRP Sierra Madre? Maliban sa naging symbol na yan, no? At this point, naging simbolo na siya, no?
Right.
At hindi lang negative may positive impact din yung simbolo na ang sabi mo, Mad Max, masang tingin ko, Waterworld
Exactly.
Yung ship na yan. Tinawag ko nga sa isang interview last week, zombie ship,
Right,
no?
yeah.
Na kinakatakutan ng China. No? Dahil literally and figuratively, it's a thorn on their side.
Yeah.
At isa siyang thorn na kinakalawang, baka matetanus sila.
Yeah.
Alam mo naman, no? Dahil, pero tingin ko ay hindi rin malinaw sa mga previous governments what to do with it No? Ibig sabihin, kung pipinturahan mo, kakalawangin din uli Ibig sabihin, unless magtatayo ka talaga ng isang island katulad ng ginawa ng Chinese sa Ayungin Shoal, no? Paano nakabaon yan doon sa sa shoal, di ba? Nakabaon na
There's
siya
enough
dyan. Ang hirap
stability.
niya tanggalin. No? So, parang tingin ko undecided sila kung tatanggalin nila or magtatayo ba dyan ng kampo or kaya naging open-ended. At dahil walang desisyon what to do with it, tumagal ng ganyan. It's not about funding it eh. It's not about painting it eh, no? Dahil hindi mo na talaga masasagip yung ship eh. No, nakabaon na siya sa shoal eh. At isa siyang ship na hindi na magagamit, 'di ba? So parang naging na lang siya eh, parang stopgap habang pinag-uusapan kung ano talaga gagawin. Dahil kung ikaw naman ay magre-reclaim at gagawa ka ng islands katulad nung Chinese, medyo hindi lang siya provocative, no, sa China kung hindi expensive. No, hindi ko alam kung may budget tayo para doon, no. So kaya sa akin mas ang pinanggagalingan ko pa from my vantage point, mukhang hindi alam kung anong gagawin. No. Kaya tumagal, lalong kinalawang hanggang ngayon yung positive side naging simbolo na lang siya ng ating resistance as well as yung simbolo ng ating naval strength or weakness, no.
Right.
Yun yung nangyari.
Or determination against all odds.
Hindi ko binibigyan ng kahulugan eh yung pagpapanatili niyan diyan before, no. Ang tingin ko mas ang pinanggagalingan ay confusion kung anong gagawin.
Secretary Llamas, I mean, my counterpose to that would be, it's not like we never realized the value of that area. Kaya nga panon pa lang ni Marcos Sr., di ba? Gumawa tayo ng airstrip sa Pag-asa. This was the first modern airstrip established in the area. This is 1977, right? Medyo tapos na.
Yeah.
So actually, the Vietnamese come a few years later and then kinopya na lang tayo ng China, except they did it at the Great Wall of China NBA level, di ba? So, in fairness naman, yung KIG Island, yung mga executive orders pa noon pa lang ni Marcos Sr., underscores that the elite in the Philippines already realized that down the road, this is going to be an important theater. Not to mention, maraming resources ang nakasalalay dito. But pangalawa, for me, the other thing also here is, we were also looking at how the other neighbors were pushing the envelope, right? Sa Ito Aba with the Taiwanese, my goodness, they really made a full-scale island. May mga fake water sources pa sila. The Chinese, of course, really since 2013, massive reclamation, the likes of which we have never seen. Lying with the Malaysians looks like a golf course, beautiful place. The Vietnamese have their own mini version of what the Chinese are doing. So when you're looking at that, parang that puts us in a difficult situation. But what I am really trying to say here is this. You're right. It's not just a question of money. It's also the question of strategic risk, right? Because any improvement in the area could be an excuse for China or other countries to be more aggressive towards us. But in the meantime, everyone, it's like ganito parang traffic sa, forget about Philippines, parang Mumbai, walang sumusunod, ikaw lang sumusunod sa traffic, ikaw pang babanggan, di ba? I mean, no one is following any rules on the ground. It's a scramble. And this is complete indecision, right? And for me, I understand the element of risk. But I think what really happened here was everyone was kicking the can, in this case, a rotten, rusty ship can down the road, bahala na next administration because I don't want to make this difficult decision. My sense is, shouldn't that taboo have been broken the moment that Aquino took China to international court? Because by that time, we have already pissed off the Chinese while the Vietnamese and Malaysians are happy with us. I felt that was the perfect time for us to really push the envelope. Or what you're saying is that the fear was this is next level or too much na. And this brings me to the next issue, Secretary Llamas, which is, kaya nga meron tayong mutual defense treaty with US, no? Dapat ang silver niyan is hindi hayaan na susugurin lang tayo ng China ibang bansa if we're doing some proper maintenance and construction activities. Because the Chinese are gonna always make noise, right? They made noise when Lorenzano went to Pag-asa and they tried to put water salinization systems, ayusin ng konti yung airstrip. They're gonna make the noise, but if you stand your ground, you leverage your alliances, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Ay mukhang squatter talaga tayo sa sarili natin bakuran. So I just don't buy this argument of we don't have money, this is beyond us, because everyone else is doing it, and it's not like everyone else is OECD, first world country around us. No, you get what I'm saying? I completely agree with you, there's a risk. But I think we already crossed the line, or crossed the Rubicon for that matter, once we filed arbitration case against China, and once pinamukha sa atin ng China that they're really interested in getting as much as possible away from us, starting with the Scarborough in 2012.
Yeah. Ang gusto ko sa iyo, Richard, in a few minutes, ang dami lang issue na na-raise mo na pwedeng lamanin ng several episodes. Yung from Mutual Defense Treaty through...
Sorry na.
Una ay So hindi lang siya usapin ng resources, 'di ba? Hindi lang siya usapin ng possible provocation, with a very huge, powerful neighbor, no? Usapin din siya ng ating sariling mga laws, Halimbawa, naalala ko nung buhay si Heidi Orak, yung advocacy niya ay ayusin natin yung ating mga batas about our territories, Dahil hindi ganun kalinaw yung saan ba talaga yung ating EEZ.
Right.
Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin sa ating EEZ? Ano ba yung ating sovereign territory, coastal areas? So, tingin ko naghalo-halo yan. Maliban pa dun sa wala talaga tayong ideological state. 'Di ba? Yung ating gobyerno nagbabago every 6 years at yung ginawa ng previous government ay walang continuity. Halimbawa, nung ginawa yan ni ERAP, hindi nga pala tumagal ng 3 taon sa ERAP, nung ginawa niya yan, hindi yan batay sa isang plano. Hindi yan batay sa isang strategy. Parang naisipan lang nila, i-ground na lang natin dito yan. No? Beyond that, wala akong nakita na nakasulat na plano to do that. No? Nung nangyari yung kay GMA, who was very friendly to China, ay hindi rin malinaw kung ano ba talaga gagawin dyan. No? At least wala akong nakita no? Pero yung isa kasi na debate diyan ay ano ba yung pwede natin gawin sa ating EEZ? 'Di ba? Pwede ba tayong maglagay diyan? Tama ka. Baka tayo sumusunod dun sa uncertainty. Sumusunod tayo dun sa vacuum of a law about EEZ. Habang yung iba, yung mga rocks ay ginawa ng isla. Dahil ang tingin nila, they can get away with it. Habang tayo, sumusunod. No? Kaya nga nagsampa tayo ng kaso sa UNCLOS. Dahil ang tingin natin ay viable yon. Others, walang yan Pwedeng hindi. No? So, in a way, baka mas yun pa nga yung tama sa sinasabi mo, Richard, na habang yung iba are pushing the envelope, tayo nag-hesitate. Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin? Ang dami nating kinoconsider.
Yeah.
Resources, capability, wherewithal, military or otherwise, international law, etc. So ang dami natin kinukuha, wala tayong nagawa. Di ba? Ang dami mong kinoconsider. Habang yung iba, walang pakialam. No? Walang pakialam. No? Imagine claiming more than 90% of the entire South China Sea, no? And get away with it. At least up to now, di ba? No? Tayo, i-easy na natin, hindi pa natin alam kung pwede, kung ano ang pwede, ano ang hindi pwede. No? So, tingin ko, partly, it's the weakness of our Philippine state. No? Na walang continuity yung previous governments, walang clarity kung ano ba talaga yung ating mga batas. No? Even as a country, hindi pa international law. No? Yun yung laging ina-advocate dati ni Heidi Orak. Ayusin natin yung ating territory. Dahil parang kapos pa tayo sa ating sariling batas to define what is ours. Hanggang ngayon. No? Hanggang ngayon. No?
But we have the baselines law, right? Kaya nga may baselines law tayo. Kaya nga we push for the it's to clarify exactly,
Pero our baselines law leaves much to be desired, di ba? Di ba? Ang laki pang problema niya. No? Kaya isa yan sa mga major battles siguro ng kahit sinong gobyerno. To finalize our baselines law para malinaw kung where do we start, no? At ano yung pwede natin gawin. Pero syempre, kinakailangan mo din talaga ng isang strong state to do these things. Di ba? No? Tingin ko, hindi ko alam kung kailan tayo nagkaroon ng strong state
I mean, Marcos Sr.
very basic pa lang diba? Cartels pa lang hindi pa natin maayos Warlords pa lang na armado hindi pa natin ma-disarmahan No? Lalo na yung ganyang klaseng napakalaking neighbor natin, no? So, tingin ko hopefully within our lifetime magkaroon tayo ng tunay na strong activist state, no? Who is more daring than previous governments, no? Including my government before, no?
Yeah.
Yun yung dahil wala tayong continuity. Wala tayong malinaw na decisiveness, political will, no? Even inside our own country. Paano pa kaya yung labas? Paano pa sa EEZ, no? Sa akin nga, baka isa yan sa pwedeng i-initiate mo. Richard, no? Gather some experts, no? Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin within our own EEZ? Dahil hanggang ngayon parang hindi malinaw eh. Hindi malinaw. Ang alam ko dati nung panahon ni FDR, sinubukan nating magkaroon ng mga projects sa Mischief Reef, no, na tinaboy naman tayo ng mga Chinese at mukhang wala namang tumulong sa atin, even our friends the Americans.
Right.
Diba? Was that 1991? No? Yung nangyari yan, no?
94, 95.
Oo, no? Even then. So ang naiwan sa atin is confusion. Ang naiwan sa atin is insecurity. Ang naiwan sa atin is weakness. No? Ang Indonesia, no? Nirerespeto ng China. Bakit? Dahil kinukuha hindi nagpapa-intimidate, eh. 'Di ba? I'm not sure kung yung Indonesia ay very clear yung kanilang baseline law. I'm not sure if Indonesia very clear yung kanilang plano. Pero may respeto sa kanila yung mga major players dito sa South China Sea. Dahil hindi sila basta-basta umatras. They project strength.
Yeah.
No? Unlike us, no? At may counting continuity yung Indonesia. Kung oobserbahan mo. Ibig sabihin hindi nila tinatapon sa basura yung decision ng previous government. Hindi katulad sa atin na yung ating previous president tinapon sa basura yung UNCLOS. Kung maalala mo, 'di ba? So yan yung ating problema eh. Walang ganung klaseng strength, continuity, assertion yung ating government. Kaya at isa sa mga epekto niyan is our rickety, rusty BRP Sierra Madre. Parang nobody knows what to do with it. Hanggang ngayon. Tapos mukhang meron pang gobyerno na nakipag-uusap sa China at nag-volunteer na itow yung ship na ngayon lang natin nalaman. Diba? Ngayon lang natin nalaman. Kung hindi pa nangyari yung pag-water cannon, hindi pa natin malalaman na may ganun palang agreement. Or at least oral agreement, no? Between the Philippines and China. We can only guess kailan nangyari yan. Dahil sigurado ko hindi yan nangyari nung panahon ng Pinoy. No? Sigurado ko hindi rin nangyari yan panahon itong 1 year ni BBM. So, may suspecha ako kung kailan nangyari yan. No?
Well, I mean,
hopefully yung suspecha mo rin.
Diba? I mean, that's my point. That we had a very high-level special envoy going to Beijing just few weeks later ago, not long after we water cannon tayo. I mean, what do you think that says about the content and the dynamics of Duterte's visit to Beijing?
Well, ang tingin ko naman kasi dahil hanggang ngayon tahimik si BBM about what transpired do sa meeting nila with Digong. Diba? Tahimik siya. Pero hindi mo naman kinakailangan maging matalino para malaman kung ano yung most probably pinaabot ni
Digong,
ni Chinese envoy to the Philippines, Duterte, galing kay President Xi Jinping, no? Malinaw naman na hindi naman bago na pinapaabot niya. Huwag na kayo makialam dito sa dynamic sa Taiwan, di ba? Lalo na galit na galit yung China doon sa dalawang EDCA sites natin sa north near the Taiwan the Bass Strait, no? Kumbaga para sa China malinaw yung objective ng dalawang na yun. Kaya nga sinagot ni Secretary Gibochodoro wala silang pakialam kung anong gagawin namin sa mga base sa Pilipinas.
Yeah.
Di ba? May ganong klaseng sagot Ang tanong dyan, sino ba sinasagot ni Gilbert Chodoro?
Yeah.
No, di ba? Yung ba yung pinag-usapan ni Digong at saka ni BBM at sinasagot na ni Secretary ng National Defense, no? Yung ba, we can only guess, no? Pero it's an educated guess na isa yan sa pinag-usapan, isa yan sa pinaabot. Ikalawa, wag na kayong magsama ng iba pang mga bansa dito sa usapin ng South China Sea or West Philippine Sea. Tayo na lang mag-usap bilat. no? Dahil makakagulo lang yan. We are willing to give you something, no? Pero huwag nyo lang isama yung mga yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi rin bago yan, no? So wala naman ako nakikita na bago na ipapabot ang China sa atin. Wala naman ako nakikita na bago na ipapaabot si President Xi Jinping kay President Marcos, no? Mga luma na yan, no? Pwedeng ang bago is a not so veiled threat na kung ipagpapatuloy nyo yung inyong mga military exercises with different countries who are not Asians, kung ipagpapatuloy nyo yung pagtatayo ng mga base, no, ay meron kaming gagawin, no? Possibly yung pag-water cannon ay is an indication of what we can do. Parang precursor yan of what may happen kung ipagpapatuloy nyo yung ginagawa nyo na paglagay ng mga base ng mga dayuhan sa inyong bansa ostensibly for tensions with Taiwan. No? So, kumbaga itong mga pinaabot ni Duterte kay BBM, I don't find anything new. No? Kahit pagpalagay na natin na bukas mag-report si BBM about what transpired, I'm willing to make an educated guess. These are the things na pinag-usapan. No? Lalo na ikaw, Richard. You of all people, alam mo naman na walang bago na pag-uusapan. No?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so much to discuss here. I mean, first of all, the reason why I was pushing you on helping us with making sense of what happened from Aquino onwards is because he correctly pointed out kay erap nangyari itong issue sa BRP, nawala siya, and then Arroyo essentially was for a decade there, and last thing Arroyo was gonna do is to piece off the Chinese, right, with everything she was doing, the NBNZT, North Railway Project, Joint Maritime Seismic Undertaking. So it really fell on Pinoy, no, and especially after Scarborough Shoal. And in fairness to Pinoy, he had to deal with multiple things at the same time, no? Yung peace process dyan sa Mindanao, yung modernization ng AFP, etong Scarborough Shoal crisis. At the same time, there was the US pivot to Asia, and then the new leadership emerging in China. So there are just like 5 major pieces moving at the same time. So to be fair to, I think, the Aquino administration, they were trying to deal with all of them simultaneously. I just felt na medyo kapos lang in a sense that pagdating sa on the ground, we were not doing what we were supposed to do. But my also sense there is, dahil kapos din ng US, especially under Obama, they were very iffy about, being helpful to us during that time. So I think
naalala ko nga Richard, dahil nakasama ako ni Pinoy doon sa isang boat na binigay ng US, no? Nung sinubukan namin, nag-jam yung 50 caliber. Yung 50 caliber, no? Yun yung nag-iisang boat na binigay ng US nung panahon ni Pinoy. At nung tinest fire namin, hindi pumutok yung 50 caliber, no? So, you can imagine saan ang galing yung boat na yun, no? At kaya nag-negotiate kami with France na nagpagawa kami ng mga 5-6 na boats sa Osea, sa France, para sa aming Coast Guard. Dahil napaka-kaunti nung ating barko ng Coast Guard at the time. Dumating yung 5-6 na yan nung panahon ni Duterte, nung first year ni Duterte. Pero, ninegotiate namin yan kalagitnaan nung term ni Pinoy. No? Right. So, nung nangyari yan, excuse, pero talagang napaka-konti ng ating assets. Right. Napaka-konti ng ating assets, no? Navy at saka Coast Guard at that time, no? At ang experience ko pa nga yung binigay ng mga Amerikano na boat, no? Hindi ko alam kung may naibigay yung mga Amerikano pa na boat, pero yun lang yung naranasan ko na naibigay nila. Nag-jump pa yung kanilang 50 caliber.
So may basis yung sinasabi ni Digong na itong Americans keep on taking us for granted. I mean, I have my own take on that issue, yung issue na tinatapon lang tayo ng mga kung ano. Of course, I'm not talking about US of today, which is so into new Cold War with China. Yeah. They're gonna give 60 billion to Ukraine. They're gonna give billions to Taiwan. For sure, they'll help the Philippines because they're against China all the way. But this was not the case during Obama, and my sense is they were really not taking us seriously, no? And we were not also doing enough perhaps to be taken seriously. But I would place more blame on Obama than Aquino. I think on that, because in that equation, US had far more to offer, including dun sa Scarborough Shoal. I mean, what is your understanding of the Scarborough Shoal situation? What happened there? I mean, I don't know kung kaibigan kayo ni Trillanes, but na-interview ko si Senator Trillanes before, na-interview ko rin si Admiral Ong. So I'm getting different versions of what went wrong because Admiral Ong was in charge of the West Command when this thing was going on, and then Trillanes did the so-called backdoor diplomacy. Ikaw, what went wrong there? Because Enrile
Maraming,
also has his own
mar-
version.
maraming versions no? Hindi ko talaga sigurado kung ano talaga yung nangyari. Maraming versions na
Yeah.
nag-usap daw, no? Na parang joint
Yeah.
withdrawal,
Mutual
no?
disengagement. Yeah.
Ang sinasabi naman ay hindi ganun kaklaro yung timing, no? Yung timing ng withdrawal.
Ako mauna, yung mga ganyan. Yeah.
Siyempre, kung medyo nauna ng ilang oras yung isa, yung isa pwedeng hindi umalis.
Yeah.
So hindi ko alam kung it's an error on judgment. Is it an error on timing?
Yeah.
Is it an error on strategy? I'm not too sure, no? Dahil hindi ako nakasama doon sa mga pag-uusap dyan. Pero mas ang tingin ko, nung panahon na yan, nagdesisyon ng US to pivot to Asia, no? Pero it's easier said than done. 'Di ba? Yung pivot na yan, it's more rhetoric eh. It's more optics. Wala pang laman eh. Wala akong nakita na realignment ng budget ng US papunta rito. 'Di ba? Ikaw ba may nakita ka nung panahon na yan? It's just a slogan at that time eh. Dahil
It was gonna take time.
sinasabi ng
Yeah, it was
US,
gonna take time. Yeah.
magsisimula na silang umalis sa Middle East, dito na sila magfo-focus, pero hindi pa naman nangyayari yun eh. Diba?
Yeah.
Very dominant pa rin ang Middle East even when they said yung pivot to Asia. Diba?
Yeah.
Kaya mas yun yung aking kine-question eh. Yung barko na hindi pumutok, yung 50 caliber, is a symbol of that. No?
Yeah.
Yung ganung klaseng transition, yung ganung klaseng ambivalence, yung ganung klaseng kakulangan ng substance dun sa optics of a pivot to Asia. No?
Yeah.
Iba pa yung problema natin. Dahil ang problema ng Pilipinas, ang dami nating mga attempts, di ba, para i-modernize yung ating armed forces. Marami dyan sa pera na yan ay kung papakinggan mo yung sinasabi nila Danny Lim, yung sinasabi nila Ariel Kerubin, yung sinasabi nila Trillanes, nila Sunny Trillanes, ay napunta sa wala, napunta sa corruption. Diba? Yan yung sinasabi nila noon eh. Kaya for generations, no, for decades, ay talagang merong pondo pero hindi nagamit for modernization. Para hindi na tayo aasa sa mga dole out o sa mga crumbs ng ibang bansa.
Yeah.
At the minimum, katulad ng Indonesia or Malaysia, magamit natin yung sarili nating resources to build up our own minimum capacity to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Maliban pa doon sa clarifying ano ba talaga ang ating borders, ano ba talaga ang ating exclusive economic zone. Ibig sabihin, mas yun ang sinisisi ko eh. Pwede natin pag-usapan kung yung US ba ay nag-scale up ng tulong since nung nangyari sa mischief reap nung panahon ni FPR.
Right.
Yung US ba ay sineryoso yung sinabi nila pivot to Asia? Pwede natin pagdebatihin yan. Pero yung hindi natin pagdedebatihan ay yung dapat ginawa sana natin sa ating sariling armed forces for at least 3 decades na walang nangyari sa modernization. At nangyari pa, nagkaroon pa ng mga attempt within the military na magkaroon ng destabilization or coup d'etat dahil nga hindi nangyari, hindi nagamit yung resources na yan. No?
Yeah.
Doon ako mas sisisihin.
Yeah, for you, that's a bigger variable factor explaining it. Again, I completely agree with you. I think the fact that we did not acquire any strategic missile systems throughout decades after the collapse of the Marcos dictatorship, years after we recovered from Asian financial crisis, all of those things, that just tells you how complacent, if not bums, no, our supposed strategic or anti-strategic elites are. But I also want to ask Ronald, do you think there's also this aspect of us not asking more from our allies, juicing out the alliance more? Because again, I don't buy this Amboy kind of tag thrown around, by some quarters against liberals or the Aquino administration and all. At the same time, I also have a feeling na parang masyado tayong diffident, that we were not being exacting enough. I mean, if you look at the cables, you look at the history of U.S. relations with Korea, with Japan, even non-U.S. allies, Pakistan, Jordan, or forget about Israel, for instance, they get a lot of aid from the United States. The U.S. gave billions of dollars to Jordan, to Pakistan. Yung Israel nga, annually pa lang, several billion dollars. And even Japan, Korea, these countries negotiate hard when they deal with the Americans. Yes, they know they're the junior partner, to put it mildly, given yan. But even if you're a junior partner, sometimes the tail can wag the dog, right? Sometimes there's a weapon of the weak, right? I don't want to go Hegel of master and slave and all the dynamics. So, my sense is with the Philippines, parang masyado tayong diffident. I'll give you an example. So, for instance, back in 2012, 13, you're absolutely right. Obama talks about pivot to Asia, but his priority was the Iranian nuclear program negotiations, right, which dragged on for 3 years. John Kerry, I think, met the Iranian counterpart more than all other counterparts in ASEAN combined by several factors. I understand that, but so you saw U.S. giving a lot of attention to the Middle East. But the sense I have is when we come to the Philippines, we're always like back of the line. We never got the best weapons. But speaking of this, even when Iran was under sanctions, the Japanese, Koreans, other countries were applying for exemptions. Di ba may sanction oil waiver na tinatawag? So, even if sanction yung country na yan, they get waivers so that they can import for strategic national security reasons. Philippines never even applied. We just went to another country and bought from the Saudis and Emiratis, whatever. For me, looking at, there are many other incidents that I cannot also discuss because they were confidentially forwarded to me by different embassies, because they were just bemused by how diffident they felt Philippines is. Like, ay, wag natin gawin yan, baka mainis yung mga Amerikano. Ay, wag tayo kumuha ng tulong, let's say, from Russia, baka mainis ang Amerikano. I'm talking about Yolanda time. I'm talking about humanitarian assistance. So, I don't know, am I being unfair? I mean, I think you're the right person to talk to, because you're also, you're a progressive nationalist, and I'm not anti-US, but I'm pro-Philippines, and sometimes I feel na hindi tama yung ganyan. Masyado tayong diffident. I remember there were even Foreign Affairs Committee discussions in the Congress and Senate back in the day. And if you listen to some of our officials, I'm not gonna name names because some are still around, they talked as if yung U.S. national interest is almost the same as the Philippines when it comes to South China Sea. It's like we're like apologizing for their shortcomings to us. And I just felt that's not right. I just felt there's something wrong there. There's a damaged culture of not making the most out of our line. So, you're absolutely correct, Ronald. Sisisihin natin sarili natin, yung corruption, yung kakulangan sa vision, coherence. But I also feel there's also this diffidence, this strategic diffidence, this loser mindset that has kept us from making the most out of what we already have. Kasi Malaysia, Indonesia, no choice sila, Ronald. Wala silang superpower ally eh. Ukraine would have loved to, kaya nga na-invade sila ng Russia. But we had it. But I never felt we're juicing it out. Do you get where I'm coming from, Ronald?
Yeah. Siguro a quick summary of our recent history, di ba? Before 1991, before natin pinaalis yung US bases dito, Subic, Clark, Sangli, etc. No? Ang problema natin, rely sa US for our defense, pero wala namang transfer ng technology. Wala namang, yung ating assets hindi naman na-build up, no? So when the time happened, no, na siguro mismo yung mga Amerikano hindi inaasahan na sila ay aalis, hindi natin renew, no? Ay ang laki ng ang laki ng gap, no? Ang laki ng vacuum. Especially sa ating military tsaka capacity, no? At that time hindi pa natin masyadong pinoproblema yung South China Sea, di ba? Dapat pinoproblema na natin kahit hindi pa talaga tinutulak ng China yung envelope dahil we were an archipelago of more than 7,000 islands. Yeah. Ibig sabihin, dapat nung nandito pa yung US bases ay talagang nag-negotiate na tayo ng mas marami na naitulong sa atin, no? Nung panahon na yon. Ngayon, nung umalis na sila, ito mix yung transition na ito dahil yung mga Amerikano may sama ng loob, di ba? Kaya nung nangyari yung mischief, hindi sila nakialam kahit may mutual defense treaty. May sama ng loob, kita ron sa mischief incident na asar sila sa atin, di ba? At the same time, medyo maingat yung gobyerno dahil there was a wave of nationalism nung pag-alis ng mga Amerikano, di ba?
Kasi tapos na yung Cold War. Kasi tapos na yung Soviet Union. Yeah.
Well, may gagawin kami. Lalo na nag-collapse na yung tapos na yung Cold War, di ba? uh, in a way, yun ang ginawa ng Malaysia, yun ang ginawa ng Indonesia. Di ba? Hindi naman sila humingi ng tulong eh. Ginamit nila yung kanila na hindi natin nagawa. Hindi natin
Yeah.
nagawa. Pero yung isa kasing problema natin ay yung contradictions ng ating state. Nagbabago yung foreign policy tuwing magkakaroon ng bagong gobyerno.
Or sa loob ng sariling gobyerno, iba-iba yung sinasabi ng DFA at presidente. It's not even in between, it's within. It's that bad.
Oo. Halimbawa sa FBR, ang tingin sa kanya ay pro-US. Di ba? Yun ang tingin sa kanya. Si ERAP at saka si GMA, ang tingin pro-China.
Yeah.
Nung nangyari si Pinoy, ang tingin pro-US.
Yeah.
Nung nangyari si Digong, ang tingin ay pro-China. So, ibig sabihin, walang coherence yung foreign policy. Kaya ang hirap, halimbawa, kung ikaw ay hihingi ng tulong o ikaw ay hihingi ng aid, military or otherwise, medyo lito yung iyong foreign policy eh. So, lito rin yung hihingin mong tulong. No? Nakikita mo ano yung sinasabi ko, no? So kailangan mo ng coherence eh. Kailangan mo ng coherence. At yun yung meron, yung iba nating neighbors. Singapore, no?
Right.
Indonesia, Malaysia, no? Even Thailand. 'Di ba? May coherence sila in terms of foreign policy. Kaya may coherence yung pag-develop nila ng kanilang military capacity. Tayo nag-take ng toll sa ating military capacity yung kawalan natin ng coherence. Maliban pa doon sa corruption na sinasabi ko kanina.
Yeah.
In terms of
Ronald, of
modernizing
course,
our armed forces.
the longest insurgencies, conflict in Mindanao, bugbog din kasi yung AFP natin sa sa mga giyera sa loob, which were totally avoidable if we didn't have incompetent presidents who created war in Mindanao, etc. Right? If we didn't push the envelope. So, you could see na kasi the AFP in the 1960s was considered the most advanced in Southeast Asia, right? In terms of basic armaments. In fairness to the Americans, hindi naman totally wala. Pero bugbog talaga tayo throughout the wars during martial law period. And then hindi rin tayo tinulong na America to develop our own industrial military complex. And you're right, there was no transfer of knowledge, technology, systems, and all of that. And then biglang 1991, pinalis natin sila, bahala kayo sa buhay nyo, ginusto niyan. So, it's really confluence of all of those factors. Kumbaga perfect storm, no? Which explains the fact that Philippines had no supersonic aircrafts for a long time, no? I mean, wala tayong modern fighter jet for decades. This is embarrassing for a country of 100 million people already by this time, no? I get it. Now, moving forward, before we go to the confidential fund issue, because I think that's another interesting topic we have to discuss. I want to end on this note when it comes to the foreign policy part. What is the workable compromise here? Because ang China, obviously, they have to accept there's going to be EDCA. There's no way back unless makusi Marcos at ma-replace ng you know who, right? I don't think that's going to happen. So Marcos is going to go. And the thing is, the more the Chinese push it, the more they tighten the screws, the more Marcos will be encouraged to go towards the Americans, right? I mean, it's backfiring clearly, and for all the popularity of Digong, he's not the same man. He doesn't have formal power. Even his informal power is questionable. Tingnan mo lang yung response online nung nandun siya sa China. Ilan lang nagde-defend sa kanya. Even pro-Marcos people were angry kasi feeling nila, nagmamaganda itong Akala ko retired ka na. Pero ayon sa'yo, retired siguro sa Philippine politics, pero hindi siya retired for other countries' politics. But going back to this, what is how to prevent downward spiral? Kasi, today I was just working on a couple of articles, and for me, status quo, papunta sa Amerikang si Marcos, pabigay tayo pagdating sa EDCA, and the more the Chinese are gonna get pissed off. This is gonna be a dangerous downward spiral. So what is a workable compromise here? Sabihin natin, for instance, can Marcos say, okay, magkakaroon kami ng EDCA, wala kayong paki dyan, pero sige na nga, yung mga malapit sa Taiwan, hindi namin palalakin masyado. Hindi namin sabihin sa mga Amerikano, pwede kayo maglagay ng Patriot missile systems. Dito na lang muna sila dito sa West Philippines, etc. Sorry na lang kasi may claims kami. Pero at least sa Taiwan, gets ko yung concern nyo, maybe I tone it down. Do you think that's a workable compromise? But before that, we have to make clear to the Chinese, you're not gonna bully us to drop the EDCA. Kaya nga tayo may EDCA kasi nga nabully kami. But on Taiwan, maybe we can compromise. Do you think there's a workable diplomacy there? Backdoor diplomacy? Of course, no one is gonna say this in public. But behind the scenes, don't you think this should be the kind of conversations we're moving towards?
Exactly, no? Yung sinasabi mo ay element of a possible compromise. Kaya dapat nasa gobyerno ka na para may propose mo na yan sa loob rather than from the outside. No? pero marami kasi interesado sa atin ngayon eh. Diba? Hindi ko pa sigurado yung sinasabing investments na $80 billion na nakuha daw ni President Bongbong sa kanyang mga foreign trips. Hindi ko pa sigurado yon, no? Pero ang sigurado ko ay maraming mga bansa ang nakikita yung ating strategic role dito sa usapin sa South China Sea, not only dahil tayo lang ang nagsampa ng kaso sa UNCLOS at tayo lamang ang nanalo, kundi nakita nila na we're standing up to China. No? Kaya marami yung nagsisympathize, hindi lamang dapat maging dependent tayo sa Americans. Halimbawa, for the first time in 60 years, galing dito yung head ng European Commission. No? That must mean something.
Si Ursula von der Leyen.
Ang Australia at saka New Zealand, no? Nagsabi rin, nagtutulong sila. Even India, no? India, Korea, no? Yung Japan naman, usual yan eh. No? So, ibig sabihin, meron ngayong mas broader security alliance na pwede tayong kumuha ng tulong if we can get our act together. Kung malinaw sa atin, anong gusto natin? Diba?
So you're saying, Ronald,
gamitin sa corruption, no?
So you're saying may sweet spot tayo, no? Meron tayong, nasa sweet spot tayo.
Yes.
Lubos-lubosin natin yan, di ba? Huwag tayo magchipang, magpachipang.
Gamitin natin ngayon yan, no? Gamitin natin ngayon. Baka kasi mangyari pa rin yung dati na, military exercises. Pagkatapos, walang may iwan sa atin. Di ba? Lahat gustong tumulong, pero puro laway. Lagyan natin ng laman. Yung ating ngayong strategic location dito sa South China Sea, dito sa Bashi Strait, lagyan natin ng kanyan, ng laman. Let us negotiate, no? Better terms, no? Kaya yun yung positive dito sa nangyayari ngayon. Unless ay mag-fumble na naman tayo, unless umasa na naman tayo sa isang superpower lang, no? Rather than yung broader. Ngayon na nangyari ito, yung ganito ka-broad na security network natin. No? Huwag natin sayangin.
Swerte talaga si BBM, no? Swerte talaga si BBM. Do you think BBM can make, not naman the most, but do you think BBM can make just good enough out of this? Barring some extreme events. I mean, do you think he has just the basics at least to get it done, you know? Kasi I always hear from some camps na BBM ganito. I think he's always underestimated. I think if you really give the guy benefit of the doubt, he's not as, you know what I'm saying, as clueless as people suggest. Some even told me na he's even ahead of the curve, even compared to some people inside the government.
Dapat siya mag-scale up, no? Dahil itong past year, ang nakita ko kasi ay conflict averse, di ba? Yun yung one. Dapat itong papupunta, kailangan siya mag-scale up as a strong leader. For lack of a better example, parang yung meeting niya sa Pampanga. 'Di ba? Na nagpakita siya
na, 'di ba? In-explain pa niya yung topsoil, ang galing. I was so impressed.
Flood control.
Yes,
tapos binabara niya yung congresswoman, no? So he was able to hold his own, no? Kailangan ng more of that, no? More of that dito sa usapin sa South China Sea, 'di ba? Paano nung pumunta si Digong sa kanya, nung pumunta si Digong sa China, nagpe-playing catch up siya which is not too good, no? Tapos nung pumunta sa kanya si Digong from China, no, pinabot sa kanya yung mensahe ni Xi, parang neither here nor there siya, di ba?
Right.
Kahapon medyo nagsubok siya mag-scale up tungkol dito sa towing agreement ng Sierra Madre. Ituloy-tuloy na niya yan, no?
Magaling,
ituloy-tuloy na niya yan, no?
Glimpses there, actually,
tuloy-tuloy na niya, no? Although, medyo nakakatawa na yung presidente mo, hindi alam kung meron nga ba talagang agreement.
No, I think alam niya, ayaw lang niya ilagay.
Wala akong alam na agreement, pero kung sakali meron, ayaw na still the agreement. Medyo nakakatawa yun, no?
Si Digong. At saka, tingnan mo yung mukha niya, he looks super tired. I mean, again, I'm not making an excuse, pero mukha siyang pagod. Hindi yung Tatay Digong pagod. Yung talaga napagod siya dahil nag-travel siya at may ginawa siya, di ba? But I think, yun nga, that's the thing with Marcos Marami siyang mga kapalpakan at saka mga kababalakan potentially na na inherit from Digong pero hindi niya malaglag because nga he doesn't want to pick a fight openly with Duterte's. But sooner than later, he has to draw some lines, no? Kasi otherwise, Digong will keep on pushing it. I'm not talking about Sara. Sara is also playing her own game. I understand that, and she's so far playing safe and smart. Okay, Ronald, I think it's enough of this topic. We can go on forever. Let's wait for more statements. Now let's go to the second part of our discussion, perhaps a bit shorter, but I think this is going to be even more interesting. So let me stop this. Okay, let's start a new one. Alright, Secretary Llamas. Now let's go to another very interesting topic, which is confidential funds, Intel funds. Ano po yan? Ikaw ba, Ronald, meron kang Intel funds nung Secretary of Political Affairs? Kapalit lang office mo, ano mga Intel funds mo nun?
Tumulong, naalala ko nun, tumulong pa ako nun para mag-negotiate ng Intel funds para doon sa National Security, para sa National Security Advisor eh.
Right.
Dahil yung National Security Advisor nga, walang Intel funds nun eh. Nung nagsimula, no, nung first year, walang Intel funds yung National Security Advisor. No? So tumulong ako na mag-negotiate ng...
Si Admiral, ano? Si Admiral yan, di ba?
Yeah, General Garcia. Former
si General
NICA head.
Garcia pa, oo.
Yeah. So, parang maliit yung intelligence fund ni Pinoy nung panahon na yon. Nag-scale up yan nung panahon ni Duterte. No? At hindi na bumalik. No? Yung last 3 years or last 4 years ni Duterte ay in the billions 4.5 to 5 billion yung Intel funds, no? Kaya maraming mga ginawa si Digong na hindi pinagpatuloy ni Bongbong. Halimbawa, yung foreign policy. Halimbawa, yung drug war, di ba? Pero ito yung isang bagay na pinagpatuloy ni BBM eh. Itong Intel funds ni Digong, no?
Life is good.
Hindi, dahil path of least resistance eh. Ibig sabihin, ang dami mo, hindi yan masyadong papasok sa strict auditing eh. May reporting, may counting oversight of COA. Pero practically, ina-report mo yung broad terms eh, kung paano mo yan ginamit. Wala yung mga resibo. No? Wala yung bidding.
Nag-lunch lang kami, 20,000.
No? Sabi ko, promise, ginamit namin dito. Yun lang ang pwedeng gawin dyan sa Intel funds. At in their billions, no? Kaya, yan yung pwede mo masabi na pinagpatuloy ni BBM from the Duterte government. Na sana hindi na ginawa, no? Paano man lang hinati niya sa gitna dahil kahit kasi 2 billion, ang dami na nun eh per year. Intelligence funds, no? Ang dami mo namang other sources of funds eh. Pero parang Maharlika, no? Tingin ko yun yung isang role ng Maharlika eh, political eh. Yung Maharlika hindi dadaan dun sa usual budgeting process, di ba? Hindi yan dadaan dun sa traditional oversight process. No. So, yung Maharlika is like a big Intel fund no, na gagamitin mo sa investment. No? So,
hindi siya confidential fund siya. Confidential.
Kung meron akong criticism, yan yung criticism ko. No? Na sana hindi niya ginaya yung Intel fund politics ni Duterte, no? Lalo na ngayon na most probably ginamit siya ni Digong do sa kanyang tokhang, di ba? Wala naman tokhang si BBM, di ba? So tapos, nung panahon ni Digong, meron din pandemic. Baka ginamit din niya yan. Mga disposable, no? Baka, hindi ko sinabi na ginamit sa Parmali. Wala akong sinasabing gano'n, ha?
Ay, di ko maalala. Yung Parmali, di na namin maalala.
No. So, ibig sabihin, baka mas lesser yung paggagamitan ni BBM. So, tingin ko, kung hinati man lang niya, ginawa niyang 2 billion, baka mas mas hindi negative. Pero dahil pinagpatuloy niya, isa yan sa magiging blot sa kanyang presidency. Lalo na yung vice president mo, may 650 million na intelligence fund. No? Sigurado ko walang ganyang intelligence fund si Lenny nung siya ay vice president. No?
Openly na criticize
no?
ni Lenny.
Sigurado ko, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
Tapos pati DepEd may intelligence fund. No?
Kasi daw related sa security ang education. Sabi ko, by that logic, related din ng DPWH, related din ng DILG.
Lahat
na lang related. Parang
Diba?
ganun
Yung,
Oo.
medyo nakakatawa yung mga argumento, no? Sana man lang humingi sila ng advice sa'yo para ayusin yung mga arguments, no? Tapos bigyan ka na lang ng kaunting consultancy fee, no? Para
Na confidential din yung consultancy fee, hindi
Oo,
kasama.
paano papasok naman sa confidential yan, so hindi lalabas yung pangalan mo.
Exactly.
Doon sa,
Ayan tayo.
pero nakakatawa yung mga arguments
Yeah.
na ginagamit, no? Doon sa
It's more
tingin ko
fun
isa yan sa magiging vulnerability ni BBM, yung intelligence fund na napakalaki, no? At isang kwan dyan, isang elephant in the room ay yung vice president na may 650 million na intelligence fund, no? Doon sa ano yan, early campaign fund? Ano bang plano diyan, no? Diyan sa
wala akong
ang sabi
sinasabi,
parang
mamaya
doon sa mga
ma-cyber libel tayo
estudyante
dyan.
na baka
Wala akong
binibiktima
sinasabi.
ng mga pedophiles, baka binibiktima ng mga sindikato, yung mga ganun. Yung, ang haba ng mga paliwanag no? Sa lalo sila nagpapaliwanag, lalo silang nababaon sa kumunoy no?
Yeah.
Lalong lumalalim yung problema. Kaya
So, Ronald, you're saying you need a more intelligent defense of the intelligence fund. Parang,
yes.
Yeah.
At the minimum, no? Gawin mo lang intelligent yung paliwanag.
Yeah,
No?
exactly.
Yun yung, kahit kunin mo na sa intelligence fund yung pagpapaliwanag intelligently.
Yeah.
No?
Or ChatGPT, libre lang
Lalo
yan.
na, sabi nga ni Mayor Magalong, ang sinasabi, ang daming problema. Yung MUP is creating a fiscal crisis. Di ba? Sabi, ang daming mga problema ng bansa. Pero, bakit hindi nagre-reflect sa Intel funds yung problema ng bansa? Di ba? Yun yung mga contradictions na baka dadami ang criticism, dadami ang babatikos, no? Dahil hindi mo mapaliwanag ng maayos. Sa bagay, mahirap ipaliwanag yung almost 11 billion in intelligence funds, no? Mahirap ipaliwanag 'yan, no? Unless iniiwasan mo
what about
talaga
dun sa
yung
security
real
agencies?
deed auditing.
But Ronald, don't you think it's justifiable? Ewan ko dun sa education, pero hindi ba justifiable for Coast Guard, for AFP, mga ganyan? Don't you think
Ba't hindi mo na lang itiretso sa Coast? Ba't hindi mo na lang itiretso sa Coast Guard? Ba't hindi mo na lang itiretso sa AFP? May budget naman yung mga yun
Yeah, exactly.
At regularly, nag-i-increase naman yun
Exactly.
Diba?
Exactly.
Ba't mo ilalagay sa intelligence? Mas malaki pa yung Intel Fund nung Secretary ng Education kesa sa Intel agencies natin, katulad ng NICA. Diba? Bakit hindi mo na lang diretsuhin, no? Yun yung ang hirap ipaliwanag nito, Richard, no? Kaya umiiwas din sila na pagdebatihan ito Ang bilis no? Biglang okay na kaagad yung Congress, okay na kaagad yung Senate. Okay na lahat, no? Okay na yung umiiwas sa debate, di ba? Parang maharli ka, ayaw ng debate.
Well, in fairness sa Maharlika, it went through a lot of revisions. No? Ako naman, Ronald, akin lang naman, if ang motto mo sa buhay is friends to all, enemy to none, wala ka palang kalaban. Ba't mo pa kailangan ng Intel funds? 'Di ba? Masaya naman ang buhay. Friends naman lahat, 'di ba? So, ang laki ng Intel fund, pero friends pala lahat. So, I mean, what do you also think about that friends to all, enemy to none? Pang beauty pageant yata yung mga ganyan, no? Hindi ito pang national security.
Pang Hallmark greeting card yan Diba? Pang Hallmark greeting, yan yung binibigay mo sa
Sa Disneyland.
kaya okay siya, sige, i-maintain mo yan, no? Pero wag mo ilagay sa Intel funds, no?
Yeah.
Yun yung kaya pwede nating i-deconstruct na maigi, no? Paano sabi kasi ni Senator Sani Angara, merong reporting yan. 1 year rin nakalipas. Ano yung, nasaan yung report na sinasabi nila? Sinasabi nila may reporting yan no? Nasaan yung report, no? Senator Angara, nasaan yung sinasabi mong report? No? Yun yung sinasabi ni Senator Angara. No, justifiable yan. At saka may report yan. No, et cetera.
Next admin na lang natin malaman.
No? Halimbawa, hindi ko naman sinasabi na ginamit ni President Duterte yung intelligence fund para mag-create ng loyalty sa military.
Wala kami sinasabing.
Wala akong sinasabing gano'n.
Wala at all. Of course.
Pero mukhang hindi naman estilo ni BBM yung ganyan. So,
in broad strokes, baka kinakailangan magpaliwanag ng konti. Kung hindi, patuloy na magiging magnet yan sa criticisms. No? Patuloy na magiging magnet yan sa mga atake.
Yeah.
Diba?
Considering the
more than-
reputation of the Marcoses, to be honest about it, diba? About transparency and accountability.
Yeah. Kakasabi lang ng gobyerno na tapos na yung pandemic. Diba? Tapos na, nililift na lahat ng mga
Correct,
emergency precautions related sa COVID.
Right.
Yan yung isa, no? Ikalawa, wala namang mga balita ng mga away sa loob ng military at saka pulis.
Right.
Diba? Wala yung mga kuku, wala yung mga destab. Ibig sabihin, may unity naman yung pulis at military, di ba? Wala namang naririnig ng mga gulo maliban dito sa pension, no? Maliban dito sa mga grumblings sa pension. So, wala ka namang paggagamitan ng intelligence fund, no? Sa loob ng military at pulis, di ba? So, tapos ang sabi mo, lumiliit na yung insurgency. Yung mga,
Tapos na daw, wala na komunista.
Kakampi na, di ba? Kakampi na, kaibigan na. Tapos, mismo ikaw, kiniklaim mo na hindi na kinakailangan ng peace talks, no? Dahil paliit na yung communist insurgency. So, anong gagawin mo sa intel funds? No? Pero yung isang inuulit ko, no? Medyo ayos-ayusin naman ng Vice President at saka ng Secretary ng DepEd yung paliwanag kung paano gagamitin yung intelligence funds.
Yep.
No? Dahil na-retain Diba? Na-retain yung intelligence funds from last year.
Tapos umakyat overall, di ba? Pa 120 million or something like that, yung proposed at this.
Well, yung sa DepEd, 150. Tapos yung sa Vice President, 500. No? Hindi ko alam kung lahat yan ay intelligence fund at iba pa yung confidential fund.
Yun nga, confidential and intel fund.
Richard, anong kaibahan ng confidential fund at saka intel fund? No? Minsan nalilito ko doon sa ano bang kaibahan yan Paano sa...
Yung confidential, wag mo na tanungin. Yung intelligent fund, at least intelligent yung i-explain mo. Yung isa, wag mo na tanungin. Yun na yun. That's it. Wala na. That's it.
Hindi kasi gano'n ako ka-intelligent para maunawaan Yun yung problema ko No? Kaya nagtatanong ako sa somebody more intelligent than me. Sa'yo ako nagtatanong.
Ronald, last point. I think we have semi-exhausted. I'm sure babalikan natin itong issue na to. May mga susunod na kabanata to, knowing the Philippines. Obviously, BBM is he's doing better, or he has more potential than a lot of his critics give him credit for. But at the same time, we know that it would help him if he has siguro a stronger team, no? Hindi naman yung sarili niyang bongo, but something like that, right? Someone who can do the operations on the ground. I don't know, his own Ronald Llamas, if I could put it that way. Is there anyone on the aside from you and me, kasi baka ma-misinterpret tayo as self-volunteering. Kasi one of the things I keep on hearing is #ProtectBBM, di ba? May mga gano'n. Yung mga worried kay BBM, #ProtectBBM kasi baka kung makaano na naman siya, di ba? Exactly.
Protect from what? From the wife?
Alam mo na, di ba? I mean, like, so, #ProtectBBM.
Baka from Maharlika. Protect BBM from Maharlika.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, so far so good, but a lot of things could explode anytime, right? So do you think there's anyone there? Because I'm not sure. I mean, there's like the mayor there. There's the current executive secretary, etc. The former chief justice, etc. But do you think there's really someone there, or there could be someone over the horizon who could really help Marcos with, hindi naman micromanaging, but at least more maayos, coherent, medyo coordinated. Kasi, syempre, tao lang naman si BBM, hindi niya mahawakan lahat sabay-sabay And he's not a mayor type of president like Digong. So, and he's not also like Aquino na obsessive-compulsive dun sa details and all of that. So, I mean, for a moment, let's just say you and I have no, I don't know, progressive values, right? We're just here in a Machiavelli. Like, if you were Machiavelli, what would be your advice? Who could be the consigliere? Consigliere, Italiano. Yeah.
The bar was so low from the previous president, no?
Yeah.
Kaya medyo siniswerte si Bongbong Marcos, di ba? yung ginagawa niya, yung kanyang pagsasalita, is nakakakuha ng positive impulses
Right.
from a lot of sectors, di ba?
Correct.
Yun yung pero that won't be enough. Even if because the bar is so low.
Oo.
No?
May 5 years
Ngayon,
pa.
papasok siya
Matagal
sa-
pa. Yeah, exactly. May 5
Papatok
years
siya sa second year,
Yeah.
no? Medyo yung much flaunted unity ay mukhang nag-unravel na at mukhang hindi na babalik sa dati in spite ng mga akbayan ng SONA between Tambaluslos and the Vice President, no? Kaya marami siyang mga haharapin ng mga problema, no? At nakita nga natin, nag-a-attempt siya mag-scale up dito sa meeting sa Pampanga.
Yes.
Pero mo, ilang linggo na nakakalipas, 2 linggo na, baha pa rin ang
Yeah.
NLEX.
That's
So
true.
nakapangat na ngayon yung reality of governance.
Yeah.
No, na hindi na pwedeng biyahe ng biyahe, hindi na pwedeng mga speeches lang. Kailangan meron na siyang gawin, no?
Yeah.
At okay naman si Executive Secretary Bersamin
Yeah.
as a Chief Justice ng Supreme Court. Pero iba kasi yung
Yeah.
ES eh. Iba
Yeah.
yung ES na ikaw yung
Correct.
linchpin ng gobyerno,
Correct.
ng lahat ng department.
Yeah.
Iba yung ES na ikaw ang first and last line of defense
Little
of the
president. Yeah, little
Iba
president.
yung ES na ikaw yung crisis manager.
Yeah.
Diba? Ikaw yung crisis manager eh. So, ang daming gagawin at yung kultura at yung skill set ni Executive Secretary Bersamin ay baka hindi para dyan. Dahil he has been a judge for more than 3 decades. At iba yung kultura ng judge, naghihintay yan eh. Hindi naman yan yung naglilibot. Diba? Hindi yan yung nagka-crisis manage. Iba yung skill set at wherewithal ng isang judge. Lalo na head ng Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
lalo na nawala yung head ng Presidential Management Staff, yung PMS. No, yan sana yung tutulong sa iyo eh. 'Di ba? CSW, complete staff work, yan sana mangyayari. Eh wala yan. Tapos kinuha mo under the executive secretary, lalo na dagdagan yung trabaho mo.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Yan yung kaya tapos meron kang mga cabinet secretary na patay na kuko, no? Halimbawa, yung Secretary of Labor mo, nakakalimutan na yung pangalan ng presidente. Pag pinapakilala niya, yung Secretary of Labor mo, walang nilabas na agenda nung Labor Day. No? Ang daming mga problema sa labor, tapos yung Secretary of Labor mo parang natutulog sa pansitan. Di ba? So, halimbawa yan. Tapos meron kang Secretary of Trade na pag nagre-report yung presidente sa mga trips, no? Lahat ng mga rehash ng mga old contracts, old MOU, nakasama lahat. No? Halimbawa, nung pumunta sa China, biro mo kasama doon sa report yung yung 2 bridges sa Intramuros. Ang tagal-tagal lang natapos noon.
Na-repackage lang nila yan. Okay na yan. Bagong signature.
Ka naman ang magaling na DTI secretary na mas forward-looking. Imbis na binabalikan yung mga old MOU, mga ganyan. So, mga halimbawa yan eh, no?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Secretary of Transportation dahil hindi ko alam kung problema niya yan o problema ng kanyang mga USEC. Bakit laging may problema ang brownout sa airport? No? Bakit laging may problema ng parang divisoria ang naiya ang airport, no? Iyan ba ay mga bagay na talagang hindi mabibigyan ng solusyon? No? Yan ba ay talagang problema ng ating sistema o may problema yung leader? So, ibig sabihin kailangan niyang mag-scale up. Hanggang ngayon wala pang Secretary of Agriculture. Isa yan sa elephants in the room.
Right.
Diba? Ang sabi ay bumaba na inflation, not food inflation. No? Kakataas lang uli ng last Tuesday ng 4 pesos ng presyo ng gasolina. Last week 3.50. Diba? Tapos yung peso, 56 plus na uli. Diba? So, yung mga problema na yan ay pwede sanang masolusyonan kung meron kang competent team. No? Tingin ko kulang pa siya sa competent team. No?
Yeah.
Na,
Yun nga because the father had an A team.
Magsisimula na siyang singilin going into the midterms.
Yeah.
No? Hindi na yan honeymoon. Hindi na yan mamamasahe. No? Sisingilin na siya. Lalo na ngayon na nililinaw ng China, no? Ito yung our man in Manila. no? Ito yung aming tutulungan, no?
In
At
Davao.
hindi yung incumbent, no? So, so lalo na yung ganyan, nag-scale up na yung China in terms of sino yung aming kakampi at sino yung aming kalaban. Kailangan mo magayos para hindi ka maging vulnerable. At you have to start with your official family. DA, DOLE, no, DTI, etc.
Thank you very much.
Pero ang tingin ko, panghuli na lang, Richard.
Please, no, Ronald,
tingin
no
ko,
problem.
willing siyang kumuha outside nung kanyang comfort
Circles,
zone.
yeah.
Halimbawa, yung meeting sa Kwan, yung meeting sa Pampanga, halos sinabi na niya kung sino ang magiging Secretary of the incoming Department of Water.
Yeah.
Di ba? Paano na, ma-aprobahan na yung Department of Water. Mukhang malinaw na sino yung kanyang ilalagay. Hindi ang galing sa Marcos loyalist, hindi ang galing dun sa kanyang usual crowd, no? Di ba? Medyo parang de facto si Babe Singson na yan. At galing yan sa Dilaw. Ibig sabihin, itong presidenteng ito ay hindi naman bound ng napipili siya dun sa kanyang sariling natural allies, no? Nagagalit ka sa kanya yung kanyang natural allies na Marcos loyalist eh. Di ba? So, ibig sabihin, willing siya mag-risk na kumuha outside.
Or he's meritocratic, or he respects merit. That's why yung NEDA secretary mo si Balisacan was also the NEDA secretary of Aquino, right? It's more of respect for merit, perhaps.
Gary Acosta, no?
Yeah.
Sa housing, di ba? So, tingin ko ay willing siyang kumuha ng labas dun sa kanyang comfort zone, no?
Yeah.
At sana magpatuloy yan, at sana marami pa siya makuha na magagaling. But he doesn't have the luxury of time. Nag-unravel na yung unity team niya, no? At malinaw na kung sino yung tutulungan ng China politically dito sa atin, no? At papunta ka na sa barangay election sa October at midterm election sa 2025, which magsisimula na ang bakbakan next year, no? At wala pa siyang malinaw na political coalition, no? Merong mga pailan-ilang na makikita mong attempts, no, to build a coalition, pero wala pa yan. At wala rin siyang mga political strategies, political operators, at political advisors na nakikita natin. Baka meron naman, no? Baka kasama ka na doon sa kanyang intelligence fund, hindi ko alam, no? So, pero so far, wala tayong nakikita. Wala tayong nakikita, no? Kaya sabihin mo naman ako pag nandun ka na, no? Pag nasa langit ko na, huwag mo kami kalimutan dito sa purgatorio.
Ronald, unity para sa bayan. Para sa bayan. Thank you so much for that, Ronald. I really appreciate it.
Hindi ko sabi yan, parang barata ka ng mga bumabanat sa
Yeah.
saka mga pink, ha?
I don't mind.
Hindi ko na kayo.
Go ahead.
Dahil magpapatuloy namang baratang kayo.
Engagement yan. Gusto natin yan. More engagement. No, I really appreciate it because I think we're on the same wavelength whereby we're saying, yes, granted all of the concerns with the Marcoses and all, and no one is saying horrible things that didn't happen during the dictatorship years. What we're saying here is that at least you have a president who acknowledges he may not be the smartest, guy in the room. He's open to get other people from different camps. He can expand his base accordingly and hopefully eventually arrives at the best A team possible because his father had the A team, right? That was the thing about Marcos Sr. The best boys, right? The Harvard boys, the Virata boys, etc. So maybe the son doesn't get that A level, pero kahit A minus or B plus lang, that might just be good enough, right? And that's an improvement from what we had, which was D and E level not long ago. Thank you so much, Ronald. There's a lot I want to talk to you about, especially yung issue ng espionage, yung mga influence operations. But we'll leave that for a separate episode kasi mahabang usapan yan. At kausapin mo muna yung mga abogado mo bago kita interviewin dyan sa next episode na yan. On that note...
sabi ko nga kanina, inuulit ko.
Yeah.
In a few minutes, ang dami mong topic na discuss eh. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, this is conversational, right? Especially yung mga nagpo-follow sa atin. They know that everything I discuss here, meron akong separate articles. There's like, you know what I'm saying? Parang there's a drawing board there. I'm just pointing out the drawing board and then you can take it out separately. But this is how we do it and we hope to continue this conversation. Salamat, Secretary Llamas, and talk to you soon. God bless, and please talk to your lawyers too. Para lang sigurado. Walang problema.
My thanks, man. Pinag-aaralan ko maigi espionage. Marami akong gustong kasuhan eh.
Oh, let's get some of the legal team people on the record. Baka madali tayo. Salamat.
Okay pa rin, lagyan natin ng mga bayong. Yung mga bahay sa labas, sa gate. Lalagyan ko ng bayong, ha? Kung may nakita kang bayong doon sa bahay ng mga politiko, hindi ako may gawa nun, ha?
Ayan tayo.
Jokingly ko lang nabanggit kayo.
That's it. Wala tayong sinasabi. We love lahat. Unity tayo. Unity mode. Maraming salamat. And just in case also, Ronald, kung may mga hiring dyan sa confidential consultants, pakisabi rin. Joke lang. Thank you. God bless. Salamat, Ronald. Talk to you soon. Alright, guys. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat sa mga ka-YouTubers natin. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Sa, ayan, dami na mga comments kay Monet. Tutay Edgar. Yeah, makulit talaga yung kausap natin. Si Yuleni Lopez D. Salamat kay Riz Ani, kay Abawag Wenray. Thank you for joining us. JC Casneros, kay Freddy Leiko. Thank you very much. Alam ko late na, pero nag-join pa rin kayo sa amin. Kay Monet, kay Madre Galheya, kay Ma'am Eden Olonan. Thank you so much again as always. Kay Teresita Makasadya. Yan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Kay Rizani again, kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lombero, kay Alexander C. Yan. Maraming nagmamahal sa atin. Thank you very much. So, I'll talk to you guys soon. And please, yung mga pwede drop by or join us via Zoom. Our lecture in Ayala Museum, God willing, will be later this week on Saturday. So, actually, you can join us over Zoom also if not in person. So, I look forward to our conversations there. And let's see if tomorrow may time pa para magkaroon pa ng isa pang meta, no? I'm also trying to arrange with Lele Claudio so essentially now I have 3 duos, one with Lele Claudio, one with Ronald Llamas, and one of course with Mark Gamboa. So we're trying to do more and more of this kind of ensemble style, and hopefully one day we can put all of these folks together. Basta ang ginagawa lang natin dito, we're pulling in more ideas, we're pulling in more comments and suggestions. So thank you very much again. Also salamat dito sa mga YouTubers natin. Thank you very much for joining us. Si Now Ogral, Omzi Oilaro, yan. Thank you very much. Kay Ma Victoria Baltazar, thank you very much, ma'am. Kay Maki Divanagricia, thank you very much for joining us. Ayan, dami mga comments. Kay Roy Semontanes, yan. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Continue. Ang daming comments. Ang daming mga galit kay alam niyo na, mga useless daw yung isa. Thank you rin kay Science and Facts. Talk to you guys and